Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and I decided to do or document my journey to rank 1, or at least my attempt for rank 1 Mythic plus title. And this video is going to be talking about the previous week, the Tyrannical week. If you're watching this during the fortified week, it might not be as appropriate, but this video, or the reason for it, is to showcase my experiences, because I'm someone who hasn't pushed Mythic plus for a long time, for about 2 or 3 months almost, because there was no incentive. Once you get 20 plus keys, you open up the portal, and there's no real other incentive for me to push keys. And now Blizzard introduced the Mythic plus title. Now the Mythic plus title, the cutoff point, Reddit.io has a really nice kind of estimation. Again, this is a guesstimate. Blizzard, please have a more clear, defined cutoff point, because people are pushing right now like crazy, and the guesstimate rating is increasing probably 1 or 2 points every single day. So assuming season 2 is gonna last for another 2 or 3 months, possibly, give or take, I think the estimate cutoff for it is somewhere along the lines of 2850. So that means you're probably gonna have to do every single key in time for 25s at this given point. But again, take this with a pinch of salt. It is a guesstimate. We're not sure how Blizzard is going to use this rating, so please need more estimation or clarification in terms of what's going to happen. But besides the point, I've been pushing for the last 9 days or so, and I've been doing fortified keys, I've been doing Tyrannical, and we just finished with the Tyrannical week, and these are my kind of experiences so far. I have to say the Tyrannical week was a little bit harder than I first estimated, because I truly believe that a plus 15 Tyrannical is way easier than a plus 15 fortified. And that is going to depend on which affixes and things like that. But generally speaking, getting your KSM or getting your alts a 15 key on Tyrannical weeks is really kinda easy. So I came into a Tyrannical week thinking that, hey, this is not gonna be that bad. But after a certain point, you reach like, I don't know, 24, 25 keys where bosses become different. All of a sudden, bosses where you kind of avoided mechanics, so you weren't even sure about the mechanics of a boss because it wasn't dealing that much damage. It now might one-shot or would require a really coordinated cooldown rotation between everyone in the party. I lack experience in doing high Tyrannical keys because I don't push keys that often. Now, I've been kind of caught out on certain bosses. Like, there is a lot of different ways to optimize the other side. The other side has been probably the most awkward route for me, and I've been looking for a really good route to time these 25, the other side keys and things like that. So like I mentioned in my previous video, I started off with semi-pugs, I started off with semi-guild runs. I found out that joining complete pugs for really high keys is a lot of times going to lead to some bad stuff. So I'm no longer joining anything that is full pug. I'm trying to get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 members to join me, and then we pug the last person or something like that. So semi pre-made groups seem to be the only way to go from 24 to 25 keys. A lot of the times you won't see 25 keys in looking for group. I'm not sure what it's like for Alliance. I'm in a really highly populated Horde Kazakh server which has an insane amount of keys going, but 25 pugs can be hit or miss. So a lot of the times I would opt in to try and find, again, over the last 9 or 10 days that I've been pushing, I've accumulated a certain amount of people on my friend list, which is the only, or maybe the best way to go. You join a key, you find someone who does good DPS, good tanking, good healing, whatever, add them to your friend list, and this is the only way to really build up a core group that you're going to be pushing day in and day out. So like I mentioned, a lot of the bosses on Tyrannical weeks felt like a different type of a boss when you reach 24, 25 range. Now, in terms of the difficulty of keys, this is my experience in the last 10 days. I found that doing a plus 23 key is actually relatively easy going. I feel anyone who's timing 20 keys can pretty much time a 23 key. You don't need a meta comp, you don't need the best route, you need decent coordination, you need to have a relatively clean run. You can still wipe on certain bosses, but 23s I feel are very doable for anyone who's pushing 20 or already pushing 20 plus keys. 23s didn't feel too bad. A jump to 24 was somewhat difficult initially, but very steadily we were able to do 24s quite easily. I think 24s still, they do not require a meta comp, but all of a sudden you need to do keys a lot cleaner. Maybe mistakes are going to be more punishing. On Tyrannical weeks, you'll notice that it is very, very punishing if you wipe on a boss. For example, you wiped on a boss where you used the heroism or bloodlust, it's pretty much over. So On 24 keys, I still found that you don't need to have a meta comp, you don't need to have the best routes, you just need to have a really clean run or relatively clean run with people who know when to pop their cooldowns, and maybe they're popping their cooldowns for specific bosses instead of a trash pack that's about to die. Now, stepping into 25s, and with time, 125 key this week, and it has been like a curse type of thing where we had a bunch of 25 keys and someone made a mistake, we didn't have the best route, and we didn't time the key. And I feel 24 to 25 jump is a really steep one. I know a lot of people might be like, it's only 1 key level, but the way that the keys scale, 25 really kind of pushes you into trying to get the meta comp. I'm not saying you cannot do a 25 without or with non-meta classes. You can absolutely, I've seen 25s with Feral Druids, with Enhancement Shamans, with Necrolord Resto Shamans. You absolutely can do it, but I feel like if you want an easier time, 25s require a really good route. I think it's all about the route for 25s, and I said this before in my previous video using Keystone Guru. I found some decent routes for really, like for example, DOS. The other side has been a nightmare for me to create a route because there's so many different ways to go about it. You can use the Feather at the start. How do you use your Bloodlust? Do you want Bloodlust for last boss? Are you going to play it safe with 2-2? And there's a lot of things to consider. So I feel like a 25 kind of range route becomes a really big deal. Now you can brute force that by having a meta comp, and this is where I'm gonna go and talk about some of the classes that are just overpowered at this given point. So you can do 23s, 24s, 25s without meta comp, but in 25 range you have to have a good route. Now if you don't have a good route, having meta classes definitely helps. And this is almost like a rant. I'm gonna say that Windwalker is just too strong regardless of whether it's Tyrannical or Fortified. Windwalker is going to take care of all of your AoE DPS needs, especially if they proc. If they have the right procs, it is just not even funny. A lot of the times Windwalkers are going to be like 2-3k more DPS than your next DPS class. And on top of that, you have to think about this. Windwalker provides things like really good defensives that they can use. Ring of Peace for your tank to kite better. You have Paralyze if you need to CC, and Paralyze works on a lot of mobs or a lot of type of mobs. It almost feels like Windwalker is kind of like a cheat card that you can use in higher keys to have a much easier time. Do you need a Windwalker for higher keys like 25s and stuff? You don't really. But is it gonna help immensely? Yeah. And this made me question, why should I ever not bring a Windwalker over any other DPS, especially other melee DPS as well? And it's kind of frustrating. Now, I play Resto Shaman, which is a very meta class, and you get invites on a lot of keys. In Tyrannical week, I can definitely tell you that there has been moments where I would be like, man, Ashen Hallow right now during this boss phase would be so good to bypass a certain kind of mechanic. And I know it sounds really weird to be a little bit jealous of Holy Paladins, but I do feel that their Ashen damage profile fits Tyrannical really well. But at really high keys, 25, 26s, 27s, I can definitely see that Ashen, or outside of Ashen, Holy Paladin can lack some healing. So there is a lot of kind of like a back and forth between Resto Shaman and Holy Paladin in terms of grass is green on the other side type of thing. But I can definitely tell you Resto Shaman is a very solid healing class. You can get invited, it's relatively easy to play. Again, my DPS numbers are pretty on the lower side because I'm still uncertain of Tyrannical weeks, and I end up overhealing people a lot more because I'm scared of really dangerous combinations, which is, again, I'm learning Tyrannical weeks, I'm learning Tyrannical bosses, I'm learning when I can DPS more, when I can heal more, and this is all part of the process, knowing when to DPS, knowing when to heal. And I probably will experiment with using Soul Letting Ruby in order, or combine Soul Letting Ruby with Vesper Totem or every other Vesper Totem, so I could get that juicy crit that's gonna provide a lot more damage. And that's something that I'm gonna do in Fortified week. This is more for Resto Shamans if they're watching this video, but my overall experience of Tyrannical weeks is that it was a little harder than I thought at first. You really need to know mechanics properly. You should invite people that you really enjoy, you think they're good, add them to your friend list, and just tell them you want to do a key, you want to do the next key. I've seen so many people doing these 24, 25 keys at this given point. I think the rating is going to rise and rise, and you probably might even need more than 25s in order to get the rank 1 mythic rating, especially in EU Horde, which seems to be pretty populated and a lot of people are pushing. So let me know, guys, how you feel. What were your experience about Tyrannical week? Do you enjoy high Tyrannical over high Fortified? Again, this is going to be a fortified week with Spiteful, which Earth Grab Totem for Resto Shaman feels pretty good. Holy Balance are probably going to be a little bit more annoyed because they have to stay in melee. Grievous is not as bad as people might think, especially if you're running a high HPS healer. So this is not a bad week to push. I'm going to push this week. I'm going to let you know how it goes. Let me know if you would like to see more of these videos. Again, I talked about the meta a little bit about Windwalkers because I feel there are definitely an outlier in terms of DPS, but I know there's other classes out there who are really strong. I know there's Frost Mages. I know there's like a good combination of DPS. I have to say this, the tank balance has been insane. I feel that there's never been a better tank balance that I've ever seen. I've played with like 3 or 4 different tank specs, and honestly every single one of them has strengths and weaknesses, and every single one of those tank specs can push really high keys. I hope that Blizzard is going to somehow incorporate this tank balance into DPS balance and healer balance in the next patch. So guys, let me know how you feel about this video, and I'll see you in my next guide.